What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Week 7 update show. Now, normally, for those of you that have been with me for the show, I do this sort of risers and fallers format. This week, I'm just going to kind of go and talk about just guys that really popped out to me in the film, not necessarily risers or fallers format. But we're going to get started with the Bills. Going in here, looking at Lorenzo Alexander. I've talked about him in the past. I've talked about how not really sure if the stats are reflective of his talent. And I tell you what, I actually think this guy's a stud. You can go back and look if you have the Game Pass or the game recorded. Go to 9:55 in the third. You'll see Lorenzo Alexander getting blocked by the tackle. They're trying to run Jaydon, who's going off through the A-gap to the left of the center. Lorenzo Alexander makes a phenomenal play, sheds the block, rips all the way over two gaps, and absolutely stuffs Jaydon. That is not a normal play. So Lorenzo Alexander definitely going up. Very impressed with him. So now we're going to move on to Denver and Devontae Booker. He looks explosive, not necessarily going up a ton in the ratings, but now with news of C.J. Anderson's injury, really looking forward to watching Booker play. Just explosive, really runs his feet on contact and almost looks natural when trying to truck people, which is a very aggressive motion. And when you can look natural doing that, it's very intriguing. So I think there's a possibility that Booker could actually win this job. I love C.J. Anderson, don't get me wrong, but Booker has that extra burst that could really push him above and beyond. So now we're going to take a look at Tampa. And first we're going to talk about Jacquizz Rodgers. I know a lot of people expecting him to go up, but honestly not too impressed with him on film. He had some huge holes to run through, holes that we've seen Doug Martin take and rip off for 67-yard touchdowns. Jacquizz Rodgers had a huge run, but he got caught from behind. So I'm not moving Jacquizz Rodgers up, guys. It was against a 49ers defense that is absolutely suffering right now in the middle of the D-line. So another guy on the team is Russell Shepard, just a name to keep your eye on. Intriguing guy, was a top prospect coming out of high school, went to LSU, comparisons to Percy Harvin, and he's third year in the league, had some off-the-field issues, I guess, but he's a captain on special teams, now getting an opportunity as a receiver in a good offense. Keeping my eye on Russell Shepard. Now moving on to the Chargers. Joey Bosa, holy smokes, this guy, I'm going to say he is already a top 10 pass rusher in the NFL. It sounds crazy, but he is in the backfield every single play, showing all kinds of pass rushing moves. So fun to watch. And then you pair him with Melvin Ingram, who's also playing great. You'll see here rated higher than Bosa. But this is one of the better pass rushing duos in the NFL. I think the Chargers defense is actually pretty legit because of these guys. And then another great defense we got to talk about is the Chiefs. And we'll start with Jones here on the D-line, playing great, the rookie. And then also the outside rushers here. Ford has been fantastic, maybe actually better than Hali this year. Hali looks to be slowing down maybe a little bit. So with Houston coming back, I could see Hali rotating with Ford. And then these safeties, Ron Parker is awesome, probably their best cover, maybe their best cover D-back, including Marcus Peters. Really good in man coverage. And then, of course, we got Eric Berry, but then Sorensen, my star of the week. This guy kind of playing that hybrid linebacker safety, flying all over the field. I've noticed him a few times already this year. This week, statistically, getting a pick six and a sack and a lot of huge tackles. Sorensen going all the way up to a 79. I think he is that good. And this Chiefs team is really intriguing to me. And then we're going to take a look at Jay Ajayi. Talked about him playing well. He, of course, goes up, running super hard. Not going to spend a ton of time on him. I'd like to see him start breaking more tackles in the backfield before I really move him up at 80. Good mark for him right now. And then Hicks, the middle linebacker for the Eagles. Jordan Hicks, a guy I really like. And I finally moved him down last week, talked about him on the show. And then, of course, now he comes and shows up, making plays in the backfield against the Vikings. And, of course, great in coverage. So Hicks on his way back up. And now we're going to go to Atlanta. And Trufant, the corner, is moving up. I was probably a little too low on him to begin with. He has been just fantastic. Shutdown corner. So he goes up to a 90 from an 86. And then also the safety, Keanu Neal. I know it's kind of cliche with Dan Quinn there kind of implementing that Seahawks defense, but Keanu Neal reminds me a lot of a young Cam Chancellor, and that's regardless of scheme. He is out there looking to light people up, and he's doing it. Keanu Neal, great hit power on this roster, of course, and very fast. Excited to see him develop. And then another safety in New York, Landon Collins. I've talked about him moving up. He's having a huge year, and he reminds me actually a little bit of another Collins who used to be a top 3 safety, Nick Collins. Made a pick 6 in the Super Bowl for the Packers, was at one point a top 3 safety in the league, but tragic injury. We might still be talking about Collins if it weren't for that, but Landon Collins on his way to being probably a top 5 safety at this rate. And then another D-back in Jacksonville, the rookie, Jalen Ramsey. Haven't given him his credit yet this year. He has been fantastic. Absolutely took Amari Cooper out of the game last week, despite Oakland having a lot of success on offense. And he's also fantastic in the run game. Such a good tackler. You know, he played safety at Florida State, so he has some of those instincts. And then Sheldon Richardson for the Jets. He finally has a huge game against Baltimore. I couldn't stop re-watching his highlights. Just a monster. Is going to be the highest rated D lineman among that great group for the Jets on my roster. Now we're going to talk about David Amerson just a little bit. The corner for the Raiders, he's kind of making a name for himself this year, but he's still probably a little underrated. And whenever you watch a Raiders game, pay attention to him because he is always shadowing the best receivers, and he's very good at swatting the ball. Always seems to make the play that you don't see corners make. So he goes up to an 88, and I really am impressed with Amerson this year. And then just to send off with a couple guys you might be a little less aware of to keep your eye on is Matt Juden. He's a outside linebacker, pass rusher for the Ravens, rookie. He made a couple big plays in the backfield against the Jets last week. And then Nate Stupar, a veteran linebacker out of Penn State, seems to be maybe starting or rotating in that linebacker group that has had some struggles, and that's an understatement for the Saints. But he looked good, making some tough tackles, and then a good play in coverage as well. So maybe a little bit of a Band-Aid there from Nate Stupar, see if he can keep up the high play. So that's it. That's all the guys I want to talk about this week. And I'm going to be working on a little project here next week. I'm going to do a mid-season review for all 32 teams. So if there's some guys on your team that I haven't talked about yet, I should hit on them in that review. I've been watching every single game this year, so I'm going to let you know what I've been seeing on the film. I know everyone doesn't have time to rewatch every game, so look forward to those. And then check out my Twitter at TFG_football for some live updates and analysis. And subscribe here. It really helps. And we will see you next week and at those mid-season review shows. Peace out.